Here with Alec Burleson. Alec, when I was watching you at practice on Wednesday, you seemed like a vocal leader in that infield. And as this team goes younger, do you fill in that role a little bit this year?
Yeah, I'm stepping on my comfort zone a little bit. I like to kind of, lead by how I play and lead by example. And but there's definitely some time where you need some vocal guys and you need to talk about some things, talk some things out. And I'm willing to take on that role. So yeah, I've made a couple kind of, I guess you can call them speeches, and definitely not the most comfortable, but it'll come. So yeah, I think it's definitely needed, and especially with how young this group will be, I think there will be some conversations that need to be had, and somebody's got to step up and talk about them.
Do you feel like you can be really helpful because of your track record of playing in multiple positions? So not only can you help at first base, but outfield, DH, and a lot of different guys can learn from you in that aspect?
That aspect, and also not playing, like being a bench guy and like not playing for a couple weeks and then getting asked to pinch hit in the ninth inning against a closer. Like I've kind of been in all those roles. Like I've been the everyday guy. I've been the bench guy. I've not played for a month. Like I've done everything. So we're gonna have some guys like that, obviously, and it's tough. Like, but I'm not too far removed from being that guy, so I understand what it feels like. I can relate to him a little bit. So yeah, I'm open to questions from anybody. Like if they have any kind of, any kind of thoughts or anything, and they don't want to go to a coach or anything, like I'm here and I can relate to them a little bit.
As you kind of move into a first base position, as Willson Contreras goes to Boston, and spend a little bit more time in the infield than the outfield, is there anything different you have to do to put a heavier load on the infield instead of focusing on both, or a little bit more outfield?
I'll still focus on both, but it'll obviously be, ground balls will be the priority, infield defense will be the priority, and then, when guys start hitting balls off the bat, that's when I'll go out there and run around and shag a little bit. So, yeah, the priority will be the infield defense, and but still going to be ready for both because anything can happen through 162. So, in the off chance they need me to run out there and go catch some fly balls, I'll be ready.
Not new to the first base position at all, but what have you learned from a Willson Contreras transferring to first base and playing there, and also Goldschmidt, who was here before?
I learned, number one, that it's not just to cover the base and catch the ball. Like you've got other responsibilities, and there's more that is asked of you, especially at the big league level, to play first base. And then number two would be everybody thinks you don't have to be athletic to play first base, but there's certain aspects of it where you have to be able to move. You got to go get ground balls. You got to have some range. So that's kind of been a focus for me, just kind of getting comfortable in those situations where I might be a little bit lazy, a couple years ago, but this year I'm going to be more aggressive and just getting comfortable doing that. So yeah, like you said, watched Goldie for a few years, and then Willson was asking me questions last year, so I had to come up with some answers for him. And so those are two guys that, Willson obviously was a first year over there, but he did a pretty good job over there.
What did you put a focus on in the offseason to get better in the batter's box after a good season?
Yeah, I think for me it was more of solidifying things within my swing, whether that's drills or moves or any kind of feels that where in the course of a season you're going to slump, right? And it's about how short can those slumps be. So if there's certain things that I can have where, instead of me slumping for 3 games, maybe it's 2 games. Like and that will kind of, they'll build on each other throughout the year. So that's kind of been my focus, is getting a really good routine, getting a really good process of when something's not feeling right, how do I need to fix it? And right now we're in day 3 of spring training. That feels like every day I feel like something's off. But, obviously got a while to go, so I'll solidify that and then be ready to go.
As you look at this team and as the front office and management, there's a clear direction that they want to go, and it's looking at you guys and how you move into the future and build this Cardinals organization. For you, what's a successful year look like for this clubhouse?
I don't know. I don't think that's been defined yet. That's a deep question where, like you said, we're going to be young. We're going to be a young group, but on the flip side of that, like we have young guys with experience. Like they know what 162 looks like. They know what it looks like to be a big leaguer and the process and the the things it takes to be an everyday big leaguer. And then obviously we're going to have a lot of young guys come up, rookies that will, hopefully contribute to a lot of wins. So I don't really know what defines a good year for us. I think it's going to be fun because we're going to be so young, and we're going to have to play loose. We're going to play loose just because the expectations aren't high from outside, from the people outside looking in. So we could surprise some people. Obviously, we're going to try and win every game, but I think a good year would just be a fun year, really, with what we've got, and then going into the years after this, we'll see what we've got.
Speaking of young guys, I think you got a really, really young guy now at home. And life's changed a little bit since the last time I probably saw you last summer. How have you adjusted to life as a dad in the offseason and now moving into spring training in another year?
Yeah, he was born about a week, not less than a week after the season started, or after the season ended. So didn't have a lot of off season to kind of, sit down and relax. So, but it's great. It's awesome. He's 4 months now, about going on 5 months, and he's starting to get a lot of personality about him. Just over the last couple of weeks, it's been a lot of fun to watch. And anytime I talk about him, I talk about my wife. Kudos to her for, obviously I have long days, and they're going to get even longer moving forward. And she's been, awesome, being at home with him and taking care of him, and even when I get home, giving me some time to kind of decompress. And then obviously I have to be a dad. So, but it's awesome. I'm looking forward to, one day when he's running around here, whacking wiffle balls and whatnot. So it's a lot of fun.
Sounds good, Alec Burleson. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.